How's it going, everybody? It's Sunday morning down here in sunny South Wales, and on Sunday mornings I always like to take a half hour, 45 minutes, and just pick up one little piece of property education. Everyone on my Facebook, everyone around my circle, everyone knows me. Jerry knows I'm a property investor and I run a property sourcing business. And every Sunday, that's what I do. I spend a couple of minutes just finding something that I can educate myself in property, just to keep myself ticking over. Something that's been coming up more recently is, I don't know if maybe I'm at that age bracket where all my friends around me are now buying their first houses. I've been in property about 5 years now, but some of my friends are kind of at the age now in their late 20s, early 30s, buying their first property, moving into their first house. And I'm seeing the same thing up and over again of what people are doing with their houses, and it's driving me mad, because I don't think people realize that you can actually have your own house for free. That sounds a bit strange, right? How you can have your own house for free, and this is not a trick. This is not like some hokey-pokey or doing things under the radar. This is genuinely how property works, and people don't know. They buy their own house and they sit on it. Literally buy their own house and sit on all their money. They're thinking, I don't want to pay rent to someone, so I'm going to buy my own house and I'm paying myself my rent. You're saving money. But a property is not necessarily an asset if you're living in it and paying a mortgage. The definition of assets and liabilities is an asset creates you money and a liability loses you money. So if you are sitting on a property paying a mortgage, that is not an asset. It is costing you every month. Yes, you might be saving money in the capital gains of the property to be worth something far more in the future, but that's what people think is the only route available. Sit and save some money, buy a property and sit and wait on that property till it grows in value, so eventually they can retire with a load of equity. But in the meantime, it's costing you a mortgage every single month and you're that much worse off. So how can you get your own property for free? This isn't something that is theory. I've literally done this multiple times. I've also done it with my own house. This is my apartment that I'm in now, and I actually rent this apartment. I don't own it, but someone else pays me monthly income of another property which pays for the rent of this apartment. So I'm actually living free, because what tenants of my other properties is paying me rent, and it allows me to stay in this place. So how do you do it? I'm going to use some basic numbers, some hypothetical numbers, just to keep it round and easy, and how you can own your own home. The first thing I'd see is what people do is they love the thought of buying a new build, like a brand new build property. Barrett's Homes, Persimmons, wherever, St. Modwyn here in South Wales is a really good home builder, and people buy their own home and they just buy it brand new and they sit on it. I've learned the lesson of buying a brand new home. You are burying capital for a long time before that house is going to reach that value again. It roughly takes about 10 years for a new build home to grow in value, depending on where you bought it, but that's about the average. So do not buy a brand new home as your first property. Now, do not do that. You're just going to sit on the capital. So it works very simply. You want to find a property that is run down in a nice area. A property that you can buy for £100,000, but will actually be worth £150,000 if it was all fixed up and refurbished. Because that's then how you can make yourself a free house. So let me throw you some rough numbers out and see if this helps how you can actually own your own house completely free. So a mate of mine is doing this at the moment, and when I told him how the whole refinancing or further withdrawdown works, his mind was blown to think that he doesn't have to sit on his entire money in the whole time. So here's some numbers, pretty simply, let's get to it. Buy a house for £100,000. Okay, what do you need as a residential homeowner? You're going to live in the house. What do you need to buy a house that's worth £100,000? You need £10,000 deposit. You need 10%. So all you need is sit on 10 grand. Let's add another 5 grand on there to take into account all your legal fees, your searches, your stamp duty, etc. Let's just round it up to say you need another £5,000 for all the fees associated to buying that house. So you need £15,000 to then buy that house. Now, you bought your house, you move into it, but it's run down, right? It needs refurbishment, it needs work on it. The next thing you do is you spend another £15,000 to fix up that house. Now, these aren't just relatively figures, these are actual figures that I've done, okay? So we bought our house for £100,000. It cost us £15,000 to buy it with mortgage, 10% deposit, solicitors fees and so on, and stamp duty. and then we spent £15,000 refurbishing that house. You know, we put in new kitchens, we put in new bathrooms, completely skimmed, rewired, whatever that house needed. We spent £15,000 to give it some love. Now we've spent £30,000 of our own money to own a £100,000 house. But here's the magic. Normally, that's where people stop, right? They think, I've bought my house, I've fixed it up, it's cost me £30,000. But have you ever understood the refinancing process or the further withdrawal on your income? So basically, you can go back to the bank after you've done all this refurbishment and brought the property up in value. So let's say now this property is worth £150,000, just like all the other properties in the street. Remember, you bought the rundown one in a good street. You spent £15,000 on the property, brought it right up to value, and it's now worth £150,000. Now you can go back to the bank and ask them to refinance that property. And then you start those figures again. This is what it would look like. The house is now worth £150,000. You need £15,000 deposit to buy it on the residential mortgage at 10%. And also, the bank is going to need £90,000 to pay back the previous mortgage. Remember, you bought it for £100,000 with 10% deposit, so the bank owned 90. So now, a £150,000 house, you need £15,000 to buy it, and you need £90,000 to pay off the previous. That equates to a total of £105,000. Let's throw in another £5,000 worth of fees, and our total value is £110,000. Now, what's the difference between 110 and 150? Is £40,000, which the bank is going to give back to you. Because you've now paid your £15,000 deposit for a £150,000 house, you've paid your £90,000 to withdraw down the old mortgage, and you paid £5,000 worth in fees, total £110,000. You've got £40,000 worth of equity that the bank is going to give back to you on a refinance. So, how does this work, right? The first house you bought, you only spent £30,000. That same house has now given you back £40,000. So yeah, not only have I got my free house, but I've got £40,000 back from the bank. Okay? That's the refinancing process. This is what people don't understand. This is the magic, the absolute magic of property. And it does this again and again. This aren't theory. This is how it works. And people don't understand that. So I just wanted to share that with my mates this morning. If you're buying your own houses, don't get sucked into buying a new build property. You can, right? You can do it the way I just said. Go and buy a rundown property, fix it up, refinance it at the bank, and then convert that onto a buy-to-let mortgage and have someone rent it from you. And then go and buy your beautiful brand new home. Because now, the first house that you bought and fixed up and renovated and rent out is now paying for your brand new beautiful house. And that is what you guys should be thinking of doing with your money when you're buying your first house. I see so many friends saving up like 30, 40 grand, buying a house and then just sitting on it forever, when you can actually use the leverage of good debt from the bank to offset your mortgage. Now bear in mind, if you go back to the bank at the new value, your mortgage costs are going to be slightly higher, but you've got £40,000 back that you can invest in probably at least 2 other buy-to-let properties with £40,000, and those 2 properties are then going to pay for the mortgage on your current house. That is the beauty of property, and it can do it for you day in and day out. People don't realize that the same amount of money that you have to buy your dream house, you could use to make your dream house absolutely free. Guys, it's going to take you 6 months to a year to accomplish that process when you're ready to buy, but what is another year on living in a bit rough and fixing up a house to have it ultimately free forever? Guys, if you're only just jumping on now, maybe worth catching at the beginning. If you're ever thinking of buying your first house, how you can actually get it for free. And if any of that interests you or you want to learn more, we do actually share loads of information free. There's a link I just posted at the top where you can register your interest for courses that are coming up, just to say you want to know more. You can register your interest, that's all, if you want to know more about what we do and how I did this. But that was my epiphany today, to try and help some friends realize that you can own your own house free. Just like in theory this apartment for me is free because I rent it, but I've got rental income from other properties I own which pay it. So guys, great, have a good Sunday, and happy property investing, or happy home owner buying. See you later.